everyone. Welcome to another episode of Divi Nation. Divi Nation is a podcast and video show by Elegant Themes, the creators of Divi, the ultimate WordPress theme and visual page builder. The goal of Divi Nation is really simple. We want to provide you with the knowledge, insights, and supportive community that you need to be successful with WordPress and Divi. I'm your host, Nathan B. Weller, and as your host, it's my job to facilitate that success by having various guests from the Divi and wider WordPress community onto the show to share their stories and experiences with you. In this episode, I'll be talking with Olga Summerhays of Infinite Imagination, which is her design company based out of Queensland, Australia. Olga bills herself as a teacher, software programmer, wife, mother, and of course, web designer. What I can only imagine is a demanding combination that, by all accounts, she seems to be pulling off wonderfully. When Olga and I caught up recently on Skype, she shared her story concerning WordPress, starting and running her business around Divi, and she even threw in some tips on how she manages her many responsibilities, and you just might too. Here is our conversation. Olga, welcome to Divi Nation.
Oh, thank you, Nathan. Glad to be here.
Awesome. I'm so glad to have you. I think I originally talked to you about coming on the show all the way back before the Divi 100 series. And then when we did the Divi 100 series, we decided that we wanted to interview people within the company. I'm just now getting back around to that group of people. So thanks for being patient and being willing to come back on the show.
Oh, thank you for having me. Yeah, it's nice.
Well, your accent is not your location from what I'm gathering, correct? You're based out of Australia, is that correct?
Yes, it is. So I was born in Ukraine and I moved to Australia in 2002. So I've been here since 15 years.
Oh, wow. Great. What got you to move there in the first place? Because I'm assuming it wasn't web design or
Oh, no, it wasn't the web design. It was my husband.
Oh, okay. Well, we're going to talk today about your life as a web designer. And one thing I always like to ask people on the show is kind of what an average day in their life is like. So as a freelancer, what is your world like? I mean, everybody kind of has a different approach to life as a freelancer. What's yours?
Yes, well, first of all, I'm a mom and a wife, and the freelancer's business kind of then roll into it. And for a while, it actually took a lot of my time. Now I try to balance back to get this balance between family and work. But basically, my usual day, to make sure that I have enough working hours, I actually get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, sometimes for 30. I am a morning person, and I love it. Like, it suits me. It's not for everyone.
That's good. Yeah, that'd be hard for me, I know.
Yeah, I do go to bed early, so I still get my, 7.5, 8 hours of sleep. But basically, I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning for 30, and I work until 7. At 7, I usually stop because that's when my kids wake up, and we have to all get ready for school, and I take them to school. And once I got back, I have another 5 hours while they're at school to get through all my tasks. And in the morning when I wake up, I do a little to-do list every day, and I try to smash it by the end of the day. Doesn't always happen, of course, but yeah, that's pretty much how I roll. Like, the afternoon for me is not all that workable because we've got kids' sport and we just want to have a family time, have a nice family dinner. So every now and then, if there is something important, I can check on it or reply to email. But most of my work happens in the morning and while kids at school.
Wow, awesome. Sounds busy, but rewarding. Sounds fun.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your how you got into this in the first place. So you work with WordPress and Divi. How did you start using WordPress, and kind of like when was that? What was the progression from whatever it was you did before, which you can tell us a little bit about, and getting into WordPress?
Well, I didn't get into WordPress in a way. I started with WordPress. I haven't actually tried any other platform apart of WordPress for building websites. Don't quite remember. I think a friend of mine asked to build a website. I got really interested into building websites. I had a few friends who build websites, and I just thought, that would be just such a fun thing to do. So when I started researching platforms for building websites, what's available and what is easy to learn and fast to learn, I found lots of good feedback about WordPress, and I tried it, and I got straight away into it. So I built a few websites for my friends, just for free, and for my husband. And my first paid job was actually a tennis club. I play tennis, and someone in a tennis club must have mentioned that I can build a website, and they asked me if I could build one for them.
Oh,
and
nice.
That was my very first paid client.
So what got people asking you to build websites? Was it something that people already knew that you were into, or like what did you do before that time that people were like, hey, maybe Olga will build me a website?
No, they didn't ask me like if I like the very first friend I built a website for. I actually asked her. She had a home business with making cakes, and I just said, "Hey, you've got a nice business, and you make such a beautiful cakes. How about I make you a website?"
Oh, nice.
And I did it for free. Just it was good for me because it was a good practice, something I could add to my portfolio and show people, and it's good for her business and. Yeah, she was happy with it.
Oh, good. So what was it that you did before you designed websites? Was it just you were looking one day and you thought building websites sounds fun, or was it a conscious switch from something else into doing that as a hobby?
Well, long story or short story.
Hey, we got a little bit of time.
Yeah. By learning or by trade, or how you call it, I'm a teacher. So I went to uni, and when I finished, I worked as a math and computer technology high school teacher.
Oh, okay.
That was back in Ukraine, my country. Then for a little while, for a couple of years actually, I worked in a tax office and in a computer technology, in a computer department. And we were building, well, not quite building, it was already kind of pre-built, but we were constantly working and under things to a software that was used in a tax office.
Oh, okay,
and my part of looking and adding, little add-ons and built-ins was audit. So the programming and technology was kind of always my thing. That's what I did.
Oh, okay.
And when I was moving to Australia, and I knew that when I will come to this country, I will not be able to work as a teacher, not straight away, without changing all my relearning stuff and such. So one of the things that actually back then, that was 15 years ago, one of my friends was a web designer. And every time he would build a website and show me, I was like, oh my gosh, like that looks so nice. Like I would like to do that. And 15 years ago, I actually got books, which I still have, with JavaScript and about building websites. But it took me another 10 years to actually start it. Like for 10 years, I was too busy with having kids. I worked a few other jobs. I worked in a supermarket. I volunteered at a few places. So it was a bit of a kind of like trying different things to find actually what I really like.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that I found it. Like I wouldn't change web design for anything right now.
That is awesome. Isn't it funny how, no matter how life brings other things in your way, whatever you're truly passionate about, you kind of circle back around to it in the end. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So talk about Divi. So you started building some websites, and that was in what year? You said it took you about 10 years. So it's 2013 you started building websites?
Yeah, I started building in 2013, and I signed up with Divi in 2014.
Okay, so you've been using Divi for almost 3 years now, or 2.5 years, or whatever it is at this point. And and how did that change how you used or how you built websites for your clients?
Oh my gosh, it changed a lot. And actually, like when I started with WordPress, as always, when you start to use a few free themes, and very quickly understood that free themes are not the way to go. Kind of thing. And I switched to, I started looking at the themes at different markets. And for first year, I worked with, I tried this and that. I tried Avada and built a few themes with Avada. I tried a few others that I don't even remember name. And I actually don't remember quite how I found Divi. It must have been just one of the advertising somewhere, or maybe some blog article that was about Divi theme. But basically, I clicked on it, and there was one theme that Elegant Themes was offering for free. And I checked that one and noticed that there was lots of people commenting about Divi. So I bought my first year subscription just for 1 year, and very quickly, like towards the end of the year, I knew that I'm gonna get a life membership.
I think a lot of people have that realization.
No, it's so easy. It's like, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, obviously, I agree. But you seem to have jumped, feet first into the Divi community as well. Can you talk about what you're doing there? I know you're on Divi Chat pretty regularly, which is another Divi podcast. I know you're in the Facebook groups a lot. How'd you get involved in those groups, and what has that experience been like for you as a freelancer?
Oh gosh, that was actually life-changing. For a couple of years, I worked I wasn't belonging to any Facebook groups, not to any Facebook group, actually not to any Facebook groups, and definitely not in any Divi group. I don't remember quite how I stumbled upon one of the Divi groups, and then from then, people talking about other Divi groups, and I found a few more. But that was kind of a big life changer for me. Because to start with, it was every time I had a question or couldn't work something out, I would always search through forums, Elegant Themes forum, or occasionally fill in a ticket or something. And Facebook was just so different. Like there were so many people with questions and answers that I didn't even had before. And first probably couple months, I was just on it every day, just learning so much from other people's experience, and not just technical stuff, but also there was a lot of things about how they run business, and some would ask questions about contract and other things, and that actually really kind of made me think about, this is great stuff.
Yeah. So what are some of the things that you learned from those groups and those, like you said, you kind of took a second look at your contract situation. Were you using contracts before that?
Not to start with. Don't quite remember at what point I started using contracts. But yeah, of course, first year it was kind of, very wishy-washy. Yeah, I definitely started using contracts, and gosh, everyone should. I'm still at the point when I'm changing little things in my contracts as I go. And at the moment, I'm in a situation when I have to change it again because a few things didn't work. Yeah, as you always do, it's kind of always in a circle.
What are some of the lessons that you learned that caused you to make the decisions like contracts? So like, do you have any anecdotes of like, this happened with the client and that resulted in me adding this to a contract or anything like that to kind of help protect yourself or make your life easier or better?
I don't have any horror story, actually. I haven't been in a very, very horrible situation. Yeah, lucky. Well, the situation kind of having right now that is not in my contract, and I have to add is that, when I, in a contract, clients have to pay me deposit, so before I start the job, and then they pay me a final payment when the website is finished, but before it goes live. That kind of good for a client, good for me. And up until this point, because most of my clients before always wanted to get website done and be online as fast as possible as it can be, I didn't have this issue. But right now I actually have a few projects that kind of finished. I've done my bit, but the client have not back with saying that, the site is good to go live. And because they're either busy with other stuff or whatever else the situation in their life, I have this project that I can't really quite issue the final invoice because in my contract it says I only issue it just before the site goes live and after they approve it and checked everything. So I've done my part, but they haven't done theirs, and yet I can't send them a final invoice. So that's the one thing that if you writing contracts and thinking about what to add, that's the one thing to keep in mind, so you don't end up in a situation like I'm right now. And as a small business, getting paid in time is very important.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you what time frame do you tend to use for your projects? Is it a specific turnaround of 1 month, 2 months, 3 months for each project? What kind of time frame do you usually work with in order to keep that income dependable?
I usually tell clients that projects will take about 2 to 4 weeks for like average standard kind of a business website. Even if I can finish it faster, it's always good to have this extra time because you never know what can happen. Especially if you work on, like I usually work at 2 or 3 projects at the same time.
Oh, wow.
And for bigger websites, if it's really a lot of pages or there is some extra forms or if it's a WooCommerce, then I always give more time, say 4 to 6 or 4 to 8 weeks.
So 2 to 4 weeks is for what you're calling a standard website. That seems pretty fast. Do you have a lot of things that you've saved beforehand that you reuse in order to kind of give yourself a jump start on these new projects?
Yes, I have layouts.
Yes. What kind of stuff have you created, and what kind of stuff would you recommend somebody getting into the Divi web design business that they create using Divi in order to give themselves kind of a good starting point for their projects?
Yeah, I would say like there is already lots of free layouts out there. So if you're just starting, a really good thing probably would be to do is to download a few and actually see what other people did. Like basically pull them apart, see how things done. So then you can kind of recreate it if you need to change something. But what works for me now is I have quite a few layouts that say if I build something for one client and I know that, okay, that looks actually really good, I can say I save the layout on a computer, and then if I build something similar, for another client, I can just pull it out, change images, change structure a little bit to actually suit their content, and that saves so much time.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And I can imagine if most of your clients, they probably don't come to you with a specific design in mind. So really what you're doing is, you're plugging their content into something that you've already done, and they don't really have a preconceived idea anyway. So when you show them something that looks nice, they're probably, I would imagine, 9 times out of 10 giving you a big thumbs up, like, that looks awesome. It doesn't matter to them that it's a pre-saved template that you've created.
No, and by the time you change images and colors, and then, adjust images and text to actually suit, sometimes it looks quite different.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That brings me to a question that I think people struggle with a lot, or a problem people have when they're just getting started, is getting that content from their clients. Did you ever have an issue with that? You ever have people trying to get you to provide, they're like, well, I want this page, and this page, and, just fill in the information.
No, I tell clients upfront, and it is in a contract as well, that I only start building websites after after I got all content and deposit paid. Yeah. So basically they know that I'm not going to start any project until I've got all the content and images. Like sometimes with images, I'm more tolerant, like if they don't have images and they're happy with me to use stock images, I'm happy for them to find suitable stock images.
Yeah.
But content, English is my second language. So they know that I'm not going to write content.
Fair enough, right?
They don't want me to write content.
Hey, to be fair, you've created some content for our blog at Elegant Themes, and I got to say, with English being your second language, I thought those posts were great. So I don't think you have quite as much to worry about as you might think. So you're... Based on the conversations we had before this, you were telling me that, I feel like I'm still new at this. I feel like, I don't have this like stellar, I'm super successful story. But I think that in a lot of ways is what makes you such a good guest, is that you're still learning some things. And before I even give you that caveat, is I got to say, like, your designs and stuff that you've created for the community, like, you're not at beginner talent level by any means. And so even if you feel like your business is still fresh, I think you're still doing quite well. And the fact that you're in the process of learning some of this, the business side of things, it's cool to talk to people in that position, because they're going to have a perspective that others who are jumping into it still have. So you mentioned to me that one of the lessons that you're learning right now is about how to set boundaries with your clients. Can you maybe speak to that a little bit? Like, first of all, what caused you to need to address that issue, and what are you doing to address that issue?
Still learning, but basically when I started, because there is quite a few web designers around. So when I actually got idea that, I wanted to build this as my business, I thought one thing that can, pull me apart from other designers would be if I can provide really good customer service.
Sure.
So I thought if I can show clients that I can go up and beyond for them and that I'm available at any time, and then every time they have a question, they can call me, and all that sort of stuff. I thought that that would make me different from other designers, and hopefully by making a really good customer service as my kind of selling point,
Sure.
I can get really good clients. So that was the idea, and it kind of worked for a while, still does. But the things that I learned was that as you get more clients and more projects, you actually can't be available for your clients 24/7. And it's not really a good idea if they call you in hours like 8 o'clock in the evening or something.
Sure, yeah.
With some question. So for me, one thing that I learned was like I had to create boundaries. I had to create these rules, and not so much for my clients, but actually for me to follow. So I don't, because people are people. Most of people naturally understand and respect other people's boundaries, and they wouldn't call you like at some crazy times, or wouldn't call you and ask too many questions and accept you to help them all the time, for free every day.
Sure.
But then if you are kind of open like that, like I kind of was, that, yeah, you have a question, just call me, I will help you, kind of thing. Some people just take it as it is. They will just call you and, and then expect you to help all the time.
Yeah.
And once you have lots of kind of things like that, that's when you go like, okay, something I've done wrong.
Yeah, that's
like,
not going to
shouldn't
work.
be like that. Yeah, so like, being kind of people pleaser and running a business, like you have to create rules just for yourself. So I did, now when I have a clients, I do not tell them, call me anytime or anything. I tell, once you have a question, send me an email.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just things like that, basically, yeah.
How's that working out for you? Do you have a system of email management that you're using to kind of filter through that? Or is it the not leaving yourself open all the time? Is that actually cut down on the number of questions that you get?
No, still probably get about the same amount of questions, but I have created a system. Last year was quite good productive year for me. I sort of kind of make like a timeline of what I'm gonna do at what time. And say when I start in the morning, last year I tried this. This year I'm trying a little bit different system, but say last year every time I get up in the morning, I make coffee, and now while I'm having my coffee and waking up myself at 4 o'clock in the morning, I was checking emails, Facebook, etc. And then most of the day when kids at school, because it's really productive time, that's when I work, and I would sometimes check emails again at lunchtime, and then perhaps 30 minutes before I go pick up kids. But all the other time, I feel like, well, if I need to finish this and I've got deadlines, like I had to prioritize.
Right.
Just to keep a balance, right.
So basically keeping that communication time with clients to set times throughout the day instead of just having it always open and
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. If they happen to send me email right when I'm checking it, like I try to respond to emails as I read them.
Sure.
Because if, later I may forget. So if it happens that they send me email and I'm just reading it, I will reply straight away. Otherwise, I will reply when it is my time to go check emails.
What other kind of systems have you developed? We're getting close on our time for the chat, and I always like to kind of end with a sort of like kind of closing thought. And so it seems to me that setting boundaries, creating systems for yourself are two really good takeaways that someone could take from our chat here. Do you have any other things that you've developed as a freelancer that you kind of depend on to get you through your client work, through your days, that you would consider, hey, these are super important to my success, and I would recommend that other people adopt these or at least think about it? Do you have any examples of things like that?
Oh, gosh, that's a good one and hard one.
It is. But for example, one of my big things is creating, task lists and spreadsheets. I mean, everything that can be tracked with a spreadsheet and a to-do list. I have a spreadsheet and to-do list for that. And for me, because I'm dealing with, lots of different, content types, people who are creating content, that kind of helps me do it. And if anybody were going to do my job, I would recommend that they do that. Do you have examples of things where it's like, I couldn't do what I do as well as I do if I didn't do X?
I do love tasks list. And just a few weeks ago, Aspen Grow's studio had a blog post about different things to track your time. And there was an app, can't remember the name of it, I can't open it at the moment. But they recommended one app that tracks your to-do list, and I started using it. I'm loving it. I can send you the name of it.
Sure, yeah, that'd be great.
It's just so easy. I always make to-do list every morning, and it just feels so good to tick every time you've done something. So that keeps me on track. And I'm not even sure what else keeps me on track. But basically, just being really, really self-disciplined, I guess.
Yeah.
Which
clearly you're getting up at 4 every morning to get into work, so that self-discipline is clearly working for you. Well, if I may, let me kind of recap. So, based on what I'm hearing from your story, we've got things that are helping you do what you do is having a disciplined schedule, tracking your time and assigning tasks to specific times throughout the day, making sure you have your contracts in place and knowing that you and the clients both have your expectations aligned, and having resources saved, a lot of them in the Divi library, so that when you start a new project, you can really get a jump on it and get it knocked out quickly. Is that a fair encapsulation?
Can I just add, when you save Divi layouts to your library on a computer, make sure that you give it a really specific name. Because to start with, I was saving lots of layouts and just giving very vague name. And then later on, when you look through it, you actually don't know which one is which.
Absolutely. So, I've had that problem on my demo sites, and I've had to go back through and reorganize because I was like, can't keep track of all this. Like footer 2, what does that mean?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Well, hey, speaking of that, sorry, go ahead.
No.
Oh, I was just going to say, since you have a system in place for this, we should have you write up a post about it for the blog to share your system of organizing Divi library, because I think a lot of people have basically what I had, which was just a total mess in there, random things saved.
Well, I actually saw someone in a group, don't quite remember who, and they posted the link in a group a couple of times, that every time they get a free layout, they put like a demo on their website with a link to it. So then every time they want to look at something, they just open the demo page and then see straight away what it is and which ones they need to get.
Oh, wow. So that's really good idea.
That's a good one to sort out.
Yeah.
I always thought that was a good idea. I haven't done it for myself because that's something that will take a bit of time.
Yeah.
But for me, giving it really specific names, so when I read a name, I know what it actually is, works.
Great. Excellent. Okay, so we're getting close on time. We're going to have to wrap up. Olga, thank you so much for making the time to be on the show. I'm glad that you were able to stop by and make some time in your busy day with kids and everything to come on. And the time difference, for everybody tuning in, we're a 15-hour time difference, so I had to do a little scheduling kung fu here to work this out. So thanks for coming on the show. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Nathan. It was nice to be here.
Well, that's all for this episode of Divi Nation. As always, I just want to give another big thank you to our guest, Olga Summerhays, for coming on the show. If you have any questions about the topics that we discussed in this episode, feel free to leave them in the comments section on the Elegant Themes blog. I've made sure that Olga is aware of the episode going live, and I'm sure that she'll be more than happy to drop by and answer any questions that she can. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. I look forward to seeing you around the community, and as always, we'll be back right here next week with another episode of Divi Nation.